Hello, and welcome to a reparative episode of the Drywall Podcast. I'm your host, once again, Nick Harmon, with us today for his second appearance on the show, Derrick Trout of East Coast Drywall Tools. Derrick was on the show way back in June of 2023 on episode 53. We talk about his two sons coming in and crushing it on social media, but we also have a bit of live video at the beginning, which is kind of fun, and we discuss dynamics of posting on social media. We talk about how he got started fixing and testing tools for his father's company, Wilko, way back in the day. We talk a little bit about ice baths, and he asks me a few questions about Fresco Harmony also. We also discuss the dynamics of East Coast Drywall Tools and how they fix tools, because some people may not even know what they do. Will you encourage somebody, like if somebody calls you and they're like, Derrick, I got this like thing that's happening, would you be like, oh man, you just need a new gasket, we'll ship you one?
Oh yeah, we troubleshoot stuff for people all the time. They'll send me pictures. There's a lot of times they don't even know what brand tool they have. I mean, because they've acquired the tools from being used over the years, or they were handed down, and a lot of the stuff doesn't have any stickers or names on it, so they don't even know what to order. So they'll say, hey, you know, what do I need? And I'll kind of talk them through it. And if it's a basic repair, a lot of people will do it themselves, and I don't mind. I mean, I'll talk them through it, give them advice. I mean, it's not a problem, you know.
We discuss the transition for people who are just learning the automatic tools and people who are already experienced. We cover it all in this episode and maybe a little more. It's all about East Coast Drywall Tools on today's episode. Huge shout out to those guys for sponsoring the Drywall Podcast in the month of September. If you are looking for automatic drywall tools or just need parts or service on your existing tools, East Coast Drywall Tools has you covered. They have a wide selection of automatic drywall finishing tools, abrasives, knives, and stilts. You'll also find a good selection of professionally refurbished tools at discounted prices, all with free shipping on any order over $100. Visit East Coast Drywall Tools for more information on repairs. I'm just going to throw this out there, but if you guys are looking for something to do in October, you may want to head across the pond to Swindon, England, and join me along with a bunch of other amazing, influential drywall badasses for the GWI and Paint Station UK Collaboration Trade Day. I call it a retail adventure. But we'll have demos from Fresco Harmony, Panel Ray, Adobe Spray Equipment, Flex Power Tools, Monarch Axis, and more. Also, we'll be introducing the Morph Sanding Solutions to the mix, along with our friends at Tape Tech, Asgard Tool, Super Prof Tools, and also here's the big one, the much needed and long awaited Harmony trowel from Comay. They'll be releasing this trowel for the first time at the event. I'd love to meet you, so come join the fun. Lastly, immediately following the England extravaganza, I'll be racing from Albuquerque to Dallas to take part in the Build Show Live. This expo takes place on October 16th, 17th, and 18th at the K. Bailey Hutchinson Convention Center in Dallas, Texas. The folks at Tape Tech have been gracious enough to invite me over there, so we'll be playing in some colored mud and showing off a ton of badass tools. It's in Dallas. You should come. But for now, the quintessential tool master, Derrick Trout of East Coast Drywall Tools, on the 147th episode of the Drywall Podcast. Let's get into it. We're getting ready to go live with Derrick Trout. We're coming up on our 150th episode. I think that is going to be the Pearl of Wisdom. episode 150. But Derrick Trout is coming on. Let's say hi. There he is.
Are you there?
You still have that badass beard. Now I'm filming. We're live right now on Instagram on my phone. But we're also recording, I believe. Derrick, Trout. So we got a couple of people that have joined. So we're doing two things here. This this won't air for a couple of weeks, but look at that beard.
Do we got any pictures of you with a beard?
No, I don't grow a very good beard, unfortunately. One thing I was going to ask you right off the bat, Derrick, is you said multiple boys, or is there one boy that's handling the social media?
I have two of my youngest sons. They're helping me with the social media and everything that goes on with the website. And that's Josiah and Mason Trout.
Okay. Are they there?
Yep, they're here, not too far away.
I want to see them. Mason and Josiah. Excellent. And how old are these two?
Oh, I'm trying to think. I'm really bad with dates. I believe Mason's 22 and Josiah's 18 or 19.
Oh, okay. They're right in there.
Yeah, I know I'm terrible. I have five children, and the exact ages anymore are the hard thing for me to remember.
I didn't realize you had 5.
Yeah, I have 3 from previous marriage, and then these 2 younger boys with my wife Cindy.
Excellent. Here we go.
He wants to go. This here, Josiah waving in the.
This is Josiah. All right. I wanted to put a face with the name.
Yeah. So he does a lot of our Facebook little clips that he does on some of the repairs on the tools. He's pretty good at repairing almost all the tools at this point. And,
cool.
And Mason, he does a lot of the computer work. He does a lot of the coding and things that go into the website and how to hook things up and get me in front of you here.
These guys are doing a great job, Derrick, by the way, because I'm on social media quite a bit. So these guys are crushing it. They're doing really well.
Good.
Yeah.
Any advice? We're always looking for advice too. Here's
look at these two.
Here's the older brother. He's the computer genius here. So
no, wait. Which one did I message on Instagram to tell me to get better shots of the studio, and you haven't yet?
That's me. I'll get it to you in a second here. Don't worry.
We're 2 episodes down. We only have 2 episodes left. I want to make your video as good as possible. And how do you like the commercial for East Coast Drywall Tools? Do you like it? Is it okay?
Yeah, it looks good. Yeah, I like it. I have some footage I can send you for background clips too, so I'll get those your way.
Just like Derrick working in the shop or whatever. Now, do you two work in the shop ever? How knowledgeable are you about drywall?
Actually doing the drywall?
Speak freely. No shame.
No shame. I don't know. I've never done drywall before. Yeah.
There it is. Nice. Honesty.
Well, I know about the tools. I just don't run them.
Do you guys work on the tools ever?
I work on the tools, repairing and fixing them, but he doesn't.
Okay. And the reason I have my phone here is because we're live on the Drywall Podcast Instagram page right now. So that's I've never done that before.
Awesome.
We'll see how it goes. I'm about ready to shut it off because Derrick and I are going to get super intimate. We're going to have a badass episode, part 2, and the listeners won't get to hear it for a couple of weeks.
Sounds good. Well, very nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you too.
Have a good one.
All right. I'm going to turn the camera around here real quick. Bear with me, Derrick.
Okay.
So that's kind of what a podcast looks like from my standpoint. When we start a podcast, Derrick Trout episode 147 will drop in a couple weeks. Stay tuned for that. I hope you all have a fantastic day. Peace.
Oh, so that's a new thing you're trying there with the Instagram.
Well, let me put these. Last time we did an interview, so it was episode 59, I believe. No, you were 53, and I was just going through a separation with my wife. I believe 2 years has passed now.
Wow.
This
It doesn't seem like 2 years.
no shit. June 2nd, 2023. And I was in like a interim house when we did the episode. So I was a little off, but I think it's a great episode. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Yeah, I enjoyed doing the interview.
What did you think? Did you listen to the podcast?
I don't know that I went through everything. I mean, I was there for it, so I've looked at different parts of it, but I don't know. It's hard for me to sit still for a whole hour sometimes, or I could be playing in the background, but I'm just, whenever you get older, sometimes it's a little different than, younger guys with social media.
Right, right. It's social media is kind of weird. You were asking about going live. So when I'm on a platform like Facebook or Instagram, there's a difference between posting something and going live. Like I can hit it and go so everybody sees real time.
Okay.
So that's what I was doing. I was showing the Instagram listeners what it looks like when I get on a podcast real time.
Now, when that goes live on a pod? So if you do that live, does it go away after you're done, or is it just recorded for
It
future?
can. I could delete it if I didn't like the way it went, but that one was fine. A couple people joined in, but then people can see that, and a lot of times a live will get more responses than because people kind of want to see something live. It's kind of cool. Like a good strategy for you would be if you're working on something interesting in your studio, like you have a fix that's pretty common, or maybe something you wish that you could tell everybody that runs a bazooka a tip or a trick. You would tell one of the boys, "Hey, come in here and go live. I want to share this. I want to share this tidbit with the world." And you could just do that.
Okay. And how do you know, how do you get to more people? Just by having people following you that find it? I mean, how does that tidbit get out to everybody that's being recorded live? I mean, how many people do you expect to be in front of when you're live? Is that...
Now, okay, so there's two different audiences. There would be an audience that when you go live, it notifies a lot of your people, especially the ones that are online. So like, let's say somebody's scrolling, right, and they're friends with East Coast Drywall Tools. Well, they would get a little prompt that you're going live, and then they might go over and check it out. Otherwise, it'll post just like a regular post, and then people can view it as they come onto the platform. It's crazy.
It's good information, because I hope that in the coming year that we do much more social media, and I'd like to be on and do more training and things like you're talking about, repairs, answer questions, whatever people need. Really, that's what I'm hoping to do.
Yeah, you could go live anytime and do like a video. You could just have Mason stand there, or, oh my gosh, Josiah. That's why I got to take notes. They could just come in there and stand there and, and when you're repairing something, and you would have to be the one to be like, "Oh, this is a good thing to go live. Hey, Mason, get in here and just film me. I'm going to do this live." And then you could talk, and then people ask questions. "Hey, Derrick, what about this or that?" They can ask questions, and you can tell them about, "Hey, how much is it to repair that part?" Whatever.
What was your learning process to get to the point where you're at now? I know you've been doing these for a while, but did you just start out cold you were out there as a, construction guy making product and, doing finishes, and then, hey, I'm going to start going online? I mean, how did
that's a good process, do you know what's funny about that is that's a really great question. I'm going to give you the long version, since what the hell, we're on a podcast, we can talk. My dad used to be able to fix like anything. He was one of those dudes, like back in the day, a boomer. He built fences. He had a shop. He painted cars. He put an engine in my Mazda. He ran a seeding, mulching, and fertilizing business and had a mulcher that he would have to fix, and he put hydraulics on. The dude could do anything, and I was always envious of that. And I remember it was always the question of, how do you know how to do that? I would always kick myself because I didn't know how to do. Well, I don't like fucking mechanics. Like, I just don't. I don't want to be like, I'll pay somebody to do ball joints on my truck. Like, I don't want to do it. My dad's like, you can do that easy. I don't want to do it. I don't have a day to waste putting ball joints on my truck. So, and cussing and throwing stuff and buying and going to, AutoZone 20 times. But something that did occur to me is that I am like that in this other way. So that I learn how to do stuff as it, and his answer would be the same as mine. Well, if I didn't know how to do it, I'd ask somebody and learn how. Just like you learned how to fix drywall parts, you didn't know it first, but you figured it out. There probably wasn't somebody standing over your shoulder telling you everything to do and how to run a business. It's no different. And I tell my dad the same thing. There's no difference with the internet. It's just a tool. And if you start digging in, the more you post, the more you do, the more you know about it. And each platform's a little different. And it was a necessity for me to market Fresco Harmony to start digging in. But there's a book that I read when I started marketing Fresco Harmony 11 years ago or whatever. Someone suggested Crush It by Gary Vaynerchuk, and he's a marketing guru guy. And he was like, post, like get a YouTube page, post up on it, get a Facebook page, post everywhere you can. And I was going on LinkedIn and everywhere and just posting. And that's kind of what kicked it off. And then from there, I couldn't afford to pay someone, and I couldn't afford to, like, especially with video, I had to figure that shit out. The other side of it is that I enjoy making videos and I enjoy marketing. So that helps. Just like my dad probably enjoyed painting cars to some extent, but, he enjoyed puttering and figuring things out. So, like that, kind of like that. But I equate it to the same thing. It's just like learning anything, how do you know anything? And that is a good question. How did you learn how to fix tools? Was it repairing your own tools that like got you like inspired to like, because did you used to be a drywaller and then you're just like, screw it, I'm going to fix tools?
Well, it started off when I was about 14. I started working summers for my father, spreading mud, learning drywall trade. So, in previous, being that we grew up in that business, I mean, even when I was 8 or 10, I got the spot nails and go out to jobs and see how they were measured up and how, count the board and all that. So I kind of grew into it. My father, he started doing drywall for himself in his own business in about 1968. So, and I was in 1984 till I came around and I was actually working for the company. So I had some good teachers at that point. And in the 60s, my dad was already renting the full set of automatic taping tools from Ames.
Okay. So he was an early adapter.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he was anything that was new, he had. I mean, it was like every time something new came out, he was very progressive as far as the tools to use in the trade. So at 14, I was learning how to run things. I wasn't necessarily operating the tools, but I was learning the hand finishing ends of it, and grabbing a hold of the tools when nobody was looking and putting them on the wall to try to see how they worked. Typical teenager way. Trying to get out there and get my hands dirty and make my mark. So that's how kind of we got started. And I'm going to say that was 84 when I started. Late 80s, early 90s, my dad started Wilko Drywall Tools, and he started building his own brand, and we actually started renting our own tools out.
Shut up. You were going to follow that same model of, we're not going to sell these, we're going to rent them.
That was kind of mostly his idea, and we did, and we rented, and we also sold, and we sold other brands as well. I mean, but I got the opportunity through that we were still operating the drywall business. So I would get to take tools out that we were working on and trying to perfect. And I would be sent out, on a weekly basis with a handful of tools, take these out and test them.
Right.
Try out different settings, blade settings for angle heads, what runs well, what doesn't run well, take notes. So I would do that. And I was kind of a go-between between, the drywall business and.
This was Wilko.
Right.
I got to back up. Your dad was like, I'm going to build a set of tools.
That's what he did. And and to think we were probably the smallest manufacturer ever of automatic taping tools. I mean, we made everything from, we made bazookas, we made the whole set.
You're asking how I do social media. I'm asking how in the hell does somebody build a set of tools? Give me a break. People think it's like whatever, but like all the machining and that goes into a box or a bazooka, even a handle, it's crazy. So how did your dad go from being a drywall person to making a set of tools?
Well, he always had kind of interest in inventing things. I mean, he had been years before that, he had worked on different variations of sanding equipment. We manufactured, one of the first things we manufactured was a dustless drywall sander where it was not powered. The dust just came through the pole, and we still have some of those available today. That was one of his first ideas, and nothing like that was available back then. And so beyond that, I guess he saw the Ames format or whatever, and he got, whenever you're renting tools, everybody understands the cost, and he just thought it was a good idea, and he wanted to do it, and he had ideas of his own for his own tools. A little bit of it I'm fuzzy on because I was pretty young and I didn't have available, the information wasn't there for me. Not everything was being shared with me before I was 20. It was a lot of things going on. It
probably didn't occur to you too that my dad's making these tools. That's a unique thing in 1980. It's very rare. It was rare for somebody to make tools.
I think he also possibly, at the same time, they bought several repair shop businesses on the East Coast that kind of went along. So they got an inventory of tools that they were renting. I think they were mainly Tape Master at that time. It would be the Tape Master before they were bought by Ames. And so they had the shops, they were doing a rental business, and then gradually we started to make parts for the tools, and we started to add our own tools, and and that's it was kind of a slow progression. It wasn't just, wake up one day and have a complete set out there for everybody to use. It was we were buying tools and running rental companies before we actually manufactured everything.
Okay. So your dad had a relationship with Sunil's dad.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
That's
the connection.
And I think that was probably the connection that I'm aware of. There's some other fellas that were involved before Sunil's dad, and I don't remember all the names off the top of my head, but Larry, he was a good guy, and we went way back with them.
Yeah, so if you're listening, we interviewed Sunil of Drywall Master now. It used to be Tape Master, and they sold to Ames. But you came up on that program as well. You've come up a couple times. People know Aaron has suggested you a long time ago when I interviewed you. So you're pretty well known in the industry. Even before Instagram and social media and all this. That's pretty cool. That's unique. So you had a relationship with Tape Master back in the day, or your dad did. You're working on these tools. Tell me about Wilko. So Wilko was your line of tools. So maybe your dad was like renting tools for a little bit before Wilko came out. I'm having trouble following that timeline.
It was together. I mean, it was happening together. So the company that we were renting tools through was, I think it was called I-81 Drywall and Masonry Supply. That was like that some of the stores that they had bought, they might even been called other things. There were, that was the one that we had here in close to Carlisle, Pennsylvania. I think there was a store in New Jersey and maybe one in Delaware. Again, I wasn't really privy to all that information. I was some of it was hush hush at the time, and I just we were still in the drywall business, and we didn't necessarily all of the competitors. We were starting to work on their tools through our other company, and we were trying to avoid conflicts. So
I think that was forward thinking too, is that it seems like you were connecting more with your competitor back in the day. This industry seems to be very competitive when it comes to the tools and things like that. And it almost seems, in my experience, it's better to have cohesion, especially in a small industry like drywall.
I think that's true. And there is a lot of competition between the brands out there. And they all bring something good to the table. I mean, it's, everybody, and I look at things a little bit different now than I did, when we were pushing our own brand a lot of times. You really are very narrow sighted. You're focusing on your own brand. You're the best, but there's, now I'm really kind of customer oriented. I'm out there to help the guys earn more money, take more money home to their families, get a better job. I mean, no matter what position they're in, because guys are coming from hand finishing to all different aspects of tool finishing, depending on the size of their operation. You have painters that are drywall guys. They're doing patchwork just so that they can paint their patch and get their customer a good product.
Watch out for those guys. If you're out there, man. No, I'm joking. I like picking on the painters on the Drywall Podcast, but yes, a lot of painters have to be decent at drywall because they can't wait around for the drywall guy to come do a patch. They'll just
right. If it's only a light box or somebody punched a hole in the wall, whatever. I mean that as long as they can get a good smooth finish, it's great. And then there's remodelers out there that are doing, they might be remodeling a bathroom all the way up through the drywall, and they don't really want to hire somebody else. That's their MO, how they go about doing their business. They're only doing one small room at a time. They don't need a full-blown set of automatic taping tools.
Right.
But these guys, as they progress, sometimes they say, well, I don't really like doing tile work, and I don't like doing the electrical work, but I do enjoy doing the drywall. So they start to add more and more drywall work. And so I try to talk with guys and get them to a progression where it makes sense. I mean, unless you're doing, full basements or a couple rooms at a time, an automatic taper might not be for you, but, flat boxes might be. Other tools might fit in. So I try to talk with guys, and I don't, as much as I love to sell tools, I don't really want to oversell somebody or overburden them with learning all at once. I want them to be successful. I mean, really, that's my focus, and that's what makes me feel good at the end of the day. I mean, that's kind of, as I'm getting older, that being able to impact and know that if I've trained a guy, that's going to feed on into the future, and he's going to get a benefit from it going forward. And then if he can grow his crew or train his children, that's going into the future. It's not really just making one sale for me. I just really enjoy taking all the crazy stuff I've learned over the years and actually using it to benefit, the people around me.
Because you're getting to be into your late 30s, so time's marching on.
Yeah, real late 30s. I may not be quite as old as I look because of the beard, but I'm more mid 50s here than I am anything. But
we're pretty close. I'm 49, so I'm almost there. Almost crossing the 50 threshold. I'm excited.
Are you how in the last 2 years has your business progressed? Have you done
oh my god
with the coatings, the Fresno Harmony? Or are you doing more with the podcasts? I mean, what's growing and what's
no things are going good. You may have heard 2024 ended rough for me. We lost my good friend Cam. Maybe you heard about that.
I did hear about that.
That was horrible. So that, and then my stepbrother committed suicide right around New Year's. And so we were close. He was funny. He was really a funny guy, and I loved him. And even now, I'm like, I see something funny. I'm like, oh, Avery, like I would have shared that with, like he would have thought that was so funny, and just, some people, mental health, just to be aware, mental health comes up on the podcast quite a bit. The podcast is doing great. A major relationship that I've come into is Ames and Tape Tech. They're fantastic. They purchased 4 months of sponsorship in the Drywall Podcast, so shout out to them. And that's kind of given me reassurance that maybe I'm on the right track. I can see algorithms of how the podcast is doing, but you never know, like who's listening. You just put it out.
Well, are you into other areas with your podcast or only construction and drywall? I mean, I remember seeing a clip somewhere. I seen some ice bath videos out there one time. I don't know.
Right.
Was that related to I can't remember if that was related to the Drywall Podcast or just something you were doing.
Yeah. Personally. So we'll do, like, I've thought of this idea where I would do a giveaway and I would get into the cold water because I do ice baths pretty regularly. I would get into the ice bath and then pull a name from a hat, who wins is the ice bath giveaway. Well, I'm not giving away an ice bath. We'd be giving away a tool or something, when Can-Am.
But the ice bath is still part of what you're doing now?
Yeah. I love doing ice baths. They're hard, but I love the benefit. Just something that I do for my health. I really like them.
I did the cold immersion through, basically showers for about 2 years.
Oh.
I never did do an ice bath, but that is on the bucket list. So I'm going to try that out at some point. So that's a little bit why I brought it up. So
yeah, do it because you have colder weather up there, right?
I would imagine. Yeah, Pennsylvania, central Pennsylvania, we get pretty cold here
Yeah. So in the winter, just throw that. Get yourself a Granger, like a water, a horse feeder, and something that you can get in a tub, fill it up. They actually you can get a top for them on Amazon, that'll
I already got I got a giant cooler like they would use at a baseball stadium for selling stuff out of. It's a giant cooler. We're going to be using that here. So you're gearing up. Okay. And then
on Facebook, they have a really good group. They have a couple of groups, but like DIY ice bath people, you could go in there and ask questions. How do I prep it? My friend Grant has a freezer that he uses, and that's a really good way to do it, but you want to circulate the water. So you want some kind of a pump that moves the water. Otherwise, it just it gets nasty if you do like 10 ice baths or something. You have to change your water. But that's a great way to do it because you can regulate the temperature. Mine, I have a chiller, and then I have like a inflatable tub that I get in. And it circulates and chills the water.
And what type of long-term benefits how long have you been doing the ice bath and what kind of long-term benefits have you seen?
Like 4 years I've been doing them. I kind of poo-pooed the idea initially. And my friend got this cooler and I was like, you just wasted $1,000, buddy. You're not gonna, and he was like trying to gear himself up, like he'd get in the bathtub. This is like when it was on the front end, when people, nobody knew about ice baths. And so he was trying to get in his bathtub and fill it with ice. And he was like, I can't stay in. I was like, dude, you got to get in there and you got to stay in there. And so he invited me over, and I mean, we had to break the ice. It was like at 32 degrees. And I remember, now there's two of us, so one of us has to be macho. So I was going to show him. So I got in the ice, I stayed in there for I did these teepee finger, and I stayed in for 5 minutes. And wow. we didn't know what we were doing. And I got out, and I couldn't eat my taco. Like my hand was shaking. It's not recommended for people with high blood pressure, things like that.
Right.
I know a lot more about ice baths now, but I remember thinking to myself, well, I'll never do that again. I did it. I don't have. And about a week later, I wanted to do the ice bath again. There was something about it that was just calling to me. It was so weird.
And it does
And
make afterwards. It does make you feel good. I mean, like I said,
yeah,
I've used well water. We have pretty cold water, but that's been,
okay.
I
Yeah.
kind of
For
yeah,
showers.
my boys were doing it, and I started, and initially I can remember, the first time it just hurt, the cold
Yeah.
hurt,
Yeah.
and then whatever, it was 15 seconds and 30 seconds, and then I heard my boys talking about 4 and 5 minutes. I'm like, all right, this isn't going to stand. I'm
2 minutes is all
right.
like that's optimum. Minimum is 2 minutes is what you want to do for optimum benefit. And then 32 anymore. I go in at like 40. I have it set at 40. So 40 to, which is still, you'll freeze your ass off. 40 to 43,
Yeah.
like I don't have to kill myself. If you go lower than that, I have to wear like neoprene booties because my feet freeze. You
I don't know
know?
that there's no real benefit. I mean, it's really, 2 minutes at 40 is probably, I mean, there's an optimum place where you don't have to torment yourself where you get a
Right.
benefit from it, right?
I do 4 to 5 minutes at 40 degrees. So it's still pretty good. Like I get out, my skin's red, and then I have a small warm up period, and that's where you burn brown fat. So you burn brown fat. It's a workout for your vascular system. Very good for your blood. All your vagus nerve, your vascular system. Really good for depression. It'll change your day immediately. It doesn't matter. Like you're thinking about something, you're worried about something, you get in that water, it just immediately goes away. And then of course the dopamine release. So there's a dopamine release. And sleep. I sleep when I do an ice bath, I sleep like a baby.
Is that down? Do you do that? Is your ice bath in the morning or is it in the evening? As far does that
That's
change the sleep pattern?
whenever I can get in that damn thing. Like, normally I go like so I wake up in the morning and I turn on the chiller and it's at about 50 and it takes a couple hours for it to cool down and like I'll get done with this podcast and then I'll probably go in. I'll do like a few sit-ups and a few push-ups and some stretching and then I go in. And that's a really simple 20-minute daily thing that I can do. Lately, I've been doing it every day, but I go periods where I don't do it and I have to get back to it, or my chiller's broken or something, Yeah, yeah, yeah. I highly recommend them. If you can do
Well,
them, do it.
well, you're
Yeah.
inspiring. So I mean, you get me off the couch to do it again. I kind of got away from it. I got sick in last year and kind of wasn't doing it, and then kind of fades away and fades out. But
Well, it is good for immunity too. How did you get sick? What happened?
I don't know. I think it was probably the flu or something that I got for a couple days or a week or
Okay.
whatever, and it just kind of I didn't necessarily want to be freezing myself when I wasn't feeling well, and then it
No.
just it's just weird how it kind of you fade in and out of things. But I was pretty steady for about 2 years before that. And I
Okay.
really, the benefits and the dopamine release and
Yeah.
feeling great, I mean, it's really, it's all true. I mean,
It's just like anything. Working out is the same, or running, or anything. It's easy to get out of. You just have to sort of force yourself to, okay, Monday, I'm going to go. I'll do it once a week or twice a week. 12 minutes a week is also optimal, is what they say, whether that's a combined 12 minutes, during different days or whatever, but 12 minutes a week is optimal. Yeah, yeah, they're great. And then,
very cool.
with Fresco, yeah, like lots of good things are happening. It's still really challenging, as you know, to run a business, especially a product-oriented business. I got to buy materials. I got to get paid. I'm playing this game, and then I'm still doing Fresco jobs on the side because I'm not married anymore. I increased my prices a little bit, got rid of my helper. I'm doing the jobs, to offset that income. So, and then it's hard because I have my kid every other week. So I have to schedule, I have to schedule things accordingly because when I have him, I'm really busy with him.
How old your son?
He's 9.
He's 9.
Yeah. So we have a good time. And
Good.
I try to, I'm very kid oriented when I have him. So everything else falls to the side. It's like, you get a small window of time when they're little.
Might as well
Yeah.
take advantage of it.
May as well take advantage. So we are running a ad for East Coast Drywall Tools for the month of September on the Drywall Podcast. Thank you very much for sponsoring the podcast. We appreciate it. It's awesome. And I'm running this ad, and I'm like, okay, so East Coast, they sell tools, they refurbish tools. Um, let's say I've got a box that's broken. Is it really that beneficial for me to ship that tool all the way to you? Uh, I've got a couple questions. Though I'm going to ship my box to you. It's not running right. I don't know what the hell's going on. The gasket's broken. Who knows? I've been running the damn thing for 10 years. Are you going to ask me questions? Do you have like a questionnaire that I fill out? I ship the tool to you. Do I pay for that? There's a lot of questions in there. Like, let's take this one scenario. If somebody, and why not just send it back to like, Tape Tech or Level 5? Why don't I just give it back to those guys and let them fix it?
Well, a little bit of it has to do with where you might be located and the
Okay.
downtime for your tool. If you're close to Tape Tech or you're close to Level 5, then maybe it makes sense to deal with them. Um,
Okay.
we've been repairing all the different brands for over 35 years, so we have a lot of experience. I mean,
Okay.
Tape Deck, Level 5, there's a lot of different places that can repair your tools. And if you have mechanical ability, you can also tackle the project yourself. I mean, it really kind of depends on what the tool needs.
Will you encourage somebody, like, if somebody calls you and they're like, Derrick, I got this like thing that's happening, would you be like, oh man, you just need a new gasket, we'll ship you one?
Oh yeah,
Like,
we troubleshoot stuff for people all the time. They'll send me
okay.
pictures. There's a lot of times they don't even know what brand tool they have. I mean, because they've acquired the tools from being used over the years or they were handed down. And a lot of the stuff doesn't have any stickers or names on it. So they
Sure.
don't even know what to order. So they'll say, hey, what do I need? And I'll kind of talk them through it. And if it's a basic repair, a lot of people will do it themselves. And I don't
Okay.
mind. I mean, I'll talk them through it, give them advice. I mean, it's not a problem. The two big
Sure.
ones, flat boxes they're fairly simple. There's a couple of things that can be tricky, um, but if a guy's comfortable working on it or he's worked on them in the past, we'll help him figure out what he needs to do. And if it doesn't work out for him, then he can always send it in. But flat boxes are fairly simple. Angle head setup, the blades can be a little difficult. I have
Oh,
special fixtures and things for those. So a lot of times
right.
guys will send those. And then I have guys that'll send me their angle head. They want me to put it back to factory settings. And then when they get it back, they have their own little special tweaks that they do from there. So they have their
Sure.
own little process. So it's the automatic taping machines, they can be a little bit more difficult. And
Yeah.
depending on the repair, I mean, if you're going to replace a broken cable, most people should know how to do that. Put a new blade in it. That is
Yeah.
basic maintenance that anybody operating it, you should learn it. Um, if you have, there's certain things, a lot of times with the drywall compounds and in constant moisture associated with drywall, you can get corrosion. So you can get busted off screws and things like that. You have a
Uh,
busted off screw in a head casting or something, then you kind of get into a little bit of machine shop work that might be outside the scope of what somebody else
right.
wants to tackle. So there's a lot of different circumstances, and I try to ask a lot of questions and find out where they're at,
Yeah.
and sometimes I can even help them get by with a makeshift repair till they get their part. I mean, a lot of times, well, the tools break whenever you're in the middle of your job. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
that's what happens. And if you don't have a backup set, which a lot of guys don't because they're not inexpensive, sometimes you need to get through or finish the job by hand. So it's those are the things. As far as shipping, typically you ship your tool into me, and you're going to pay to ship it in. I don't do any
Okay.
type of pre-labeled boxes or anything.
Okay.
We'll usually assess the tool. We only really repair things we see that are wrong with it.
Sure.
it seems overly expensive, or it seems to be like, hey, we're getting close to half of what a new one would cost, usually we'll give you a call and say, well, we'll let this up to you. Do you want to fix this tool, or do you think you should, buy another one? And, it just depends on where the person's at the time. I mean, it's still
kind of like a vet.
Right.
Do we put her down? Or do you want to pay?
Well, that
pay to let her limp along a little while longer?
And then sometimes I'll get tools in here, and it'll say it's had a rough life, and I'll say, well, we can do this. We can limp you through for a couple more months, and we'll do that. We won't do a full blown repair. We're getting you through until you buy a new one to replace it. I mean, and that happens as well.
Because it makes me think of like maybe there's people out there that have a set of tools, or they're running, the box or the angle head breaks, or the something, and they put it aside, get a new tool. That tool has been like kicking around in their garage for 5 years. Send it into East Coast Drywall and have them fix it, and you have an extra tool. Maybe it's $100, maybe it's $200, but it's still less than buying a new tool, and you have a backup if some, kind of like a music shop too. It makes me think of like, shops that fix musical instruments, like that sort of thing too.
And sometimes guys will do that. They'll put it in the back burner. They'll put it aside, and they'll accumulate a whole pile of stuff. And every once in a while, they'll show up at my place and say, "Hey, what do you give me for all this stuff? I want some other tools, and we'll work out a deal." So then I have tools that we'll repair the old stuff while we're not. If we don't have somebody else's tool to repair, we'll work on some of the old stuff and we'll refurbish it. And
okay.
And a lot of times I'll get guys come into the shop, and they'll be like, I'd like a set of tools, and it's cost prohibitive, and they might not have the best credit. They're having a hard time getting started, and they'll say, well, what do you got? I'll piece them together, a good use set. And that
give me $200. We'll start with $200. I'll give you this set. I'll start with $200, and then give me a couple $100 a month.
Well, every once in a while, we try to avoid those situations. Yeah. I'd rather just sell them the used set and get them going. But once they have the tools and they have increased production, they start to earn more money. It's not long till they start adding tools. I mean, it's so the learning process always pays off, and that's So that's what we kind of like to do.
Right.
I mean,
and what's your advice?
There's a lot. It's a lot different now with the internet, because back whenever I was starting out, there was nobody really out there. Ames might have had a program in place where they were teaching guys, but most would go to a job site and you would learn whatever you were allowed to learn. And sometimes the guys that were operating the tools, they didn't want you to learn how to run them because that was their job security. So now we have like kind of the Wild West with the internet, where everybody can see a video of somebody doing drywall with tools, and it's good and bad, because there's a lot of good videos, but there's a lot of really odd things that people do that kind of grate against my soul, but I try to not.
And I think you should make videos about that too. Like, you can make a video like, hey man, I just saw this thing where this dude is doing this. If you do this, it's going to ruin your tool over time. Like, you could be making these videos all the time. Just, you have a lot of knowledge and understanding of the tools. And I mean, Columbia does a pretty good job of that. Like, there's a couple videos where Aaron's like showing how they fix something, it's kind of cool. Yeah. Like, those are great videos. I think those are great because people that use the tools really want to see that content. And this is maybe for Mason and Josiah as well. Like, they can be more aware of like what Derrick's doing in the shop, and you guys can post more helpful videos for finishers.
That's what we're hoping to do here in the near future. We're hoping to set up a little area where we can actually, do better social media type things, and and talk with guys. And I try to be laid back about it too. I see on, a lot of the Facebook posts and things that are guys get brutal out there with each other.
They're assholes.
They're well, that's one way of putting it. But and I try not to be that way. I might have told this story before, but whenever I was younger, I'd be working in the shop here, and a guy would come through the door, and he'd be covered head to toe in mud, and I'd ask him, you guys run banjos? And he'd be like, yeah, how do you know? And I'm like, I just was guessing, and I was kind of entertaining myself, because I never ran a banjo. Okay, so we were right in. Like I said, my dad was running the automatic tapers in the '60s. So
Right.
until I came in, we never touched banjos. So but later on, as I were selling more tools and I was interacting with more people, and I kind of developed what my job was, and that's basically it helping people get a better job and get it done faster. I mean, really, that kind of boils down to what I'm trying to do. I want to increase your speed in your production. I want you to get a good job. So I saw some videos of some guys that were really good banjo operators. I saw them online, and I'm like, wow, there's no shame in that, man. These guys are really boogieing along. So it's way faster than taping by hand. So I'm like, well, there's certainly a place for just about everything that people do. I mean, there's a succession, that you can use. So I'm like, hey, if I can take a guy from hand taping and get him into a banjo, or if he's already a banjo and he's really proficient with a banjo, I can transition him to automatic tools, just maybe not the bazooka right away or the automatic taper.
You get him hooked on those Can-Am tools. That's the gateway drug.
Yep. Well, Can-Am, that's a great way. I mean, they have nice stuff and they've been around. I mean, that type of tool has been around since the 70s, and it was more popular in Canada than it was here in the US until a lot of this internet stuff started going on. Because early on, the Ames brothers, when they came out with their tools, that's they really had the US market, and some of the other type of heads and other things that were out there just weren't as popular. And I think they had the means to get out there and to market the tools and to teach people. And so I wouldn't see quite as many of the Can-Am style tools, but it's great. And I do a mix of that, the semi-automatic tools and the automatic tools.
Okay.
It's like I said, I just try to get guys progressively to where they want to be, and it's a little bit individualized, but if a guy comes in and he says, I want a set of tools, I want everything, the best of everything, that's, I kind of still try to talk through them and make sure they understand what they're getting into, but I'm very successful talking people through the learning process. I mean, if somebody gives me a call typically and they're having a problem, usually we can get to the bottom of it, even in the learning process. So.
That's good intel. Or if they're like, I hate drywall, I just won the lottery, I'm going to sell this bullshit tools. They take them to you and you buy them.
A lot of times they can always do better. I tell them outright. I always refurbish. I fix everything and make sure that it's operational. I can't buy used tools. Like if you sell them personally online to somebody, usually if you take the time to do that, you can make out a little better. But because I have to reservice them and I still have to make a couple bucks on them when I resell them. So it's like anything. It's like anything used you're selling. But
Derrick might lowball you. He might lowball you if you go to East Coast. But if you have vintage tools, I know that you like vintage tools. So if you have an old banjo or something laying around, he might be interested in that.
Oh yeah. Any antique tools. If I don't have a couple of them, I'm usually interested in stuff that I've never seen before. I just
right.
It's coming to be far and few between of those items, but they're still trickling in. I was just last January, I had the pleasure of going out and helping my friend Elmer Schrock at Tool World out in Arthur, Illinois. He ran a business like ours for about 55 years, and unfortunately, he's passed away since. But he was 85, and he had a lot of experimental stuff laying around his shop, and interesting things. So I was able to acquire a bunch of that, and I found a automatic taper head, and I have no idea who made the thing, and so it's still a mystery to me. So I have to contact a couple guys in the industry. And
do you have it?
I don't have it with me here. It's in my shop. But
I was gonna say, shoot me a photo. I'm happy to throw it up and be like, hey, does anybody know who may have made this?
It's a real oddball. There's features on it. It looks just like a regular automatic taper head, but there's certain features on it that I've never seen before. So it's and that's what I really enjoy. I'm an antiques guy in general, so I do a lot of picking and buy, trading, and I do industrial antiques and music instruments and a lot of different things. I'm out there. That's kind of my sport. Is I go out a couple times a week and I do some hardcore picking, and I have a good time with it. So
Well,
I
I'm
find,
sure.
and I don't find drywall stuff very much at different markets. It's very,
No.
very rare that I find.
Elmer would have been really happy that you took those that you got those.
Oh, he was the sweetest guy ever. I mean,
Hmm.
he had him and his brothers had what was called Versatool back in the 60s and 70s, which was an air automated system. And I think I seen you flashing some pictures of me showing you some of the things the last time. But he manufactured he also manufactured precision taping tools. He had the flat boxes, angle heads, automatic tapers. They were also a small manufacturer, and they did that, for a long time. I was surprised. It was a little bit interesting when I was out at his place. I'm looking at these big machines in his warehouse, and I'm thinking, what are these things? I could tell they were some type of metal forming tools. And then finally I asked his brother-in-law, and he said, well, they were making corner beads. They were actually machines for making metal corner beads back in the day. So he was actually producing his own, buying roll stock and producing his own metal corner beads, which was amazing
That's
to
awesome.
me. I mean, other people might not get a kick out of it, but I'm thinking, man, this guy was into everything.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he was, and just a super friendly guy. I mean, I just always enjoyed talking to him. My dad dealt with him, for 30 years, and they would horse trade back and forth, but there's, there's a lot of cool people in the industry, and there's a lot of, I like to share with people. There's a lot of ways you can do business within the industry. I mean, you can start out, doing taping and hanging, and end up doing podcasts. I mean, it's really, there's just so many things that you can branch out into.
Yeah, I mean, this was like out of necessity for marketing, but it just it's true. You never know, and two, to be exploring all the time, sort of exploring different options. You don't know what you might like. I had a camcorder when I was little. We were just visiting my family in Washington, and my sister had put our tapes on a DVD, and we were watching these old tapes of like Christmas. And my brother passed away in '91, and I was like, all of this footage that I took, so I had sort of a bent on videoing and videography when I was young, and I still do it to this day. You never know. You never know what you're going to find if you don't look.
Yeah, I remember when I was in, when you're in grade school, when your teachers are asking you, oh, what occupation do you want to do when you grow up? And everybody's like, I want to be president. I want to be a fireman, a doctor. Well, back then I didn't realize sometimes the construction looked down on a little bit, but I wanted to be a drywall guy because that's what my dad was,
Yeah.
And that's kind of an odd thing back then, but it's, it actually seems like, I don't know, more people appreciate the trades nowadays than what, I don't know, back in the 80s or 70s, they might not have been appreciated quite as much, where the more professional, the doctors and the things, but now, now we're coming back to the trades because the work
it's coming
done,
back. It's coming back. The work needs done. People are getting a little better wages all the time, and especially independent finishers, people that do patchwork, especially. I mean, I get a lot of people on here that do patchwork that crush it. Just one dude, 600, 700, 800, $1,000 for a patch. I can go and knock it out in 2 days. Really simple, and people need it done, and nothing's cheap anymore. And so why not?
I mean, I don't go out. I'm tempted to go out and, do some of that work even now, just because I enjoyed it. And, and it's a good living, That's one of the things that, along with the teaching, I try to share things just about business in general, even with some of my younger customers, if I get the opportunity, and also keep your mind open. I think you know Myron Ferguson. Is he been on your podcast?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, I've known Myron for years, and he's I would say a humble drywall guy. He's one of the nicest guys you ever met too.
He's so nice.
But he goes, he's making a living. He decided that drywall was going to be his trade, but then he was an inventor. He did, wrote books. I mean, probably the most popular drywall instruction manual ever made with Fine Home Building magazine. It's been multiple revisions, sold in Home Depot and Lowe's. I mean, he doesn't do everything the way I would. And some of the stuff is like, why would you do it like that, Myron? But he's doing a good job and he's getting good results. He doesn't, I don't do everything like he would do. but it's solid, honest work, and he's not he never was static. Like wasn't just getting up and doing drywall. He had other things going on. He learned, a lot of different things, and that's the way I try to, encourage anybody to be, So that's, going,
Yeah. And if you're listening, two things. You got to catch my interview with Derrick, episode 53, 2 years ago. And then also my Myron Ferguson. And this one's for you too. That episode is one of my favorites. Like, I've talked to Myron, and quite honestly, I thought it would be a boring episode, but it's so good. And he's such a good interview. And we talk about his book. He sold 500,000 copies. That book put his kids through college.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Stupid book about drywall. And he went to the JLC show, and he's like, he got all this attention. And I was like, well, why do you think these people were paying attention? He's like, well, let's face it, drywall's fascinating. And I was like, yeah, I guess
at least he thinks so. And I had a funny story the way you said that, the drywall is fascinating. And one time his wife was telling me a story about how, I think they did a little bit of counseling for younger married couples at some point. And she was telling me this story about how, she really, drywall is probably not the most interesting thing to her, but with his enthusiasm, she gets caught up in it, right? Because, it's her husband, and, and he's talking about it. It makes it exciting. I mean, it's people do they do like it. And especially if you're running an automatic taper. If you're running an automatic taper, people are fascinated. I mean, they love seeing that.
Or walking on stilts. It never gets old. It never gets old. You're the superstar of a job site. Somebody's never seen stilts, and you walk in on stilts. They're just like, what in God's name are you doing?
Yeah, I posted a little video of a pair. I have a really early pair of stilts, really weird ones that I've never really seen them other than in an old catalog. And I think I got I think it might have topped 1 million views on a Facebook post from them stilts. We're going to gear up, and I'm going to try to climb on them things and clank around and see if I can get some more views.
I don't know if I would. They seem really they seem skimpy. In your ad, there's an old pair of stilts and an old banjo, because we talk in the first episode. We talk a lot about the older tools. Pretty cool.
So I guess going forward for what we're trying to do is to just basically concentrate on teaching people and getting out there, and hopefully with social media. I mean, because that seems to be a great way to reach a lot of people.
Those boys are doing a good job, and it's noticeable. Somebody that's on social media a lot, like myself, I notice they're just more on top of it, and the content's really good. Do you ever fix? We just had Dave Darnitzer of Appletech. Do you ever fix continuous flow stuff?
We work on it a little bit. I haven't done a lot with it. Hopefully in the future we can get more involved with it. I just not been one of our specialties. I don't have a lot of local guys working with it. I have, but I have ordered parts from them and put, the guys that are local, I have worked on some of the stuff, but it's okay.
It's pretty cool.
It's a pretty amazing setup.
I think drywallers poo-poo it really easily, but the more you sort of go into it, and Mark Wilson was also on the show with Ames. He talks about it, so they have a continuous flow setup as well, Tape Tech. In certain circumstances, you got a bunch of board ahead of you. You're commercial, you got two dudes mixing up.
You got 30 rooms of floor in big apartment buildings or something like that. You can drag it. I mean, that's the perfect setup.
Yeah.
Residential, sometimes it can be just depends. Right. I mean, going up and down stairs with some of the equipment, I don't know, but it's it just depends on your situation. And it's funny whenever you look at some of the continuous flow stuff. Some of the first Ames tools were based kind of on the continuous flow. Some of their early tapers, I think back into the 40s, they had a big hopper setup, and they had their automatic taper was a continuous flow setup. And then whenever they came out with the current style of automatic taper, it was kind of the advertising. Well, you don't need to have cords and hoses behind you anymore. You're kind of free of all that stuff. And now, they've kind of come full circle, and now there's finding situations where it works out for guys and it really speeds them up. But I imagine if you had a giant project, just keep dumping mud in that hopper, it'd be a big time saver. But have you ever operated one? You ever worked with one?
No, it'd be fun. I mean, just not having to go back and pump up your box, crush it.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it would require a couple labors because he was also saying too, like you got two dudes, like if you got a couple guys that are just mixing and filling up a big tub,
yeah,
you can just go.
It's amazing.
It'd be fun. The box, two things: you're not carrying as much weight in the box, and he said it's like 90% less pressure. And I was like, oh, well, that's a really big deal.
You have some pressure feeding in from the pumping action, I imagine.
Like 90%. Like you're pulling off of that box. He said tell them 90 and they'll give you 50. But like you're going to want like 50% less pressure on your tool. And I was like, oh, well, that saves a lot of energy.
That would be nice as well. So
yeah, just cruising.
I imagine that they'll just get better and better as time goes on. More people adapting to it and lighter weight and everything. So it's
right. But then we also talk about like the slot box, the banjo. It's really opened my eyes to a lot of different. There's a lot of people that use the slot box and they'll like still use it, and it's pretty quick.
And now, whenever you say a slot box, how is that you're referring to? Is that like a homemade, hand-built one, or like the Columbia Super Taper style? I mean, there's a couple different ones out there that are kind of based on that, where they're actually putting tape into a bag and then just sticking it fast to the ceiling. Is that?
Yeah, I think the Super Taper's part of it. Like you reel it through one of those, but you put it into a shit box.
Right. Yeah, well, I actually have, some Amish customers that hand built their own Super Taper type devices that they do their mud, and that's the way. And they're running all the other automatic tools, and they're still using this method where they're putting it in a bag, or they have this method where they drape the tape on their arm, and I'm like, oh man, that's not for me. But I'd like to, I've never actually seen it, but I've had it described to me, because I always want to keep my hands clean, right? The bazooka guys and the automatic taper guys, I mean, they kind of pride themselves on staying as clean as they can.
I'm a very clean finisher when I finish. I mean, I'm doing the color now, but like I like to stay clean,
So how much drywall did you do or did you do mostly coatings, or did you do a lot of drywall in the past?
I was union first generation. I had no clue, Derrick. Like I got into the mobile homes manufacturing and it was all quick set. And then I was spotting screws and then one of my jobs was to walk around on stilts and caulk the ceiling wall transition in the homes. They'd send them out like caulked and painted, and I think they'd fix them later because of the shifting when they move around.
Yeah.
And then
that was one of my least favorite jobs was going and patching up those type of houses whenever they were put into place. I mean,
nightmare.
Just random. It was like an Easter egg hunt. You had to go looking for cracks and busted things and nail pops, and it wasn't bad work, but it just, whenever you're used to the flow of a regular drywall job, going and picking things here and there, it just seemed annoying at the time. It probably wouldn't be too bad now.
Nah.
Now, were you working in a factory, or did you always go out and just fix them after they were?
No. I was in a factory pushing the homes around. We were manufacturing the homes as they went around. The floors would float around on air.
Were they using automatic tools on these houses at the time?
They weren't, but they were. I remember they were transitioning to, and they had this big tub with like hot water because they ran all quickset joint gum.
Right. Now
they were going to run quickset through the freaking automatic tools, which seems dumb. Even if you're using hot water, I mean, over time, it's like going to get gummy. I wouldn't.
Well, I've had the experience. I've gotten to go into some of the factories and try to help the guys transition, and there's definitely a different set of problems that they have in the factories, and they do, using all-purpose compound versus the quickset. I mean, it's pretty interesting. So it's
Well, and now we've been talking to the mud skip people. That is interesting for that type of scenario. If you're going into those situations, because the mud skip creates the mud to be to where you can go over the top of it when it's still wet. So you can do multiple coats, and it doesn't. You can still wash it out, so it doesn't gum up like quickset.
Now, does the mud skip, is its purpose to reduce shrinkage in the compound? Is that what it does?
Yeah, and like for patching, you can do multiple patches, and then like a bunch of people online right now are using for skimming ceilings. I'll use it in the color, and what I found on the last job was that it like I had a couple areas that would that flared out when I got back to do my sealer and my final coat that I had to fix. Well, I cut them out and I do fiberfuse, really quickly and hit it with that mud skip, and then I could seal right over it. No issues, like while it was still wet. So that stuff's been kind of interesting. It's new to the market. They're doing
I'll have to take a closer look at it and see.
Yeah, I'll tell Paul to send you some and just like let you check it out, especially if you're going to mobile homes, because that might be a big solution for mobile home manufacturing. I just thought of it,
Right.
But yeah, to me, quickset was not a good idea for automatic tools in that setting.
Yeah, one of the problems I had seems to be a high turnover of labor in some of the manufactured housing.
Well, they pay, it's crappy wage.
But so whenever you're dealing with automatic tools, once you have somebody trained, if they go out the door and they have somebody else coming in, that's kind of one of the issues that I've seen.
Yeah.
If they can keep some lead people there that can oversee, then it's not a problem. But
they had different departments for people, so it was like some dude would be doing angles, another dude would be doing butts and bands, another dude would be doing metal. And everybody had their own little thing that they did, and they'd have a big team of people just crushing out, 6, 7, 8, 9 floors a day. It was production. And then I left that environment. That was my introduction. And I went into the union as a 50% apprentice. And it was like proper downtown Portland. They're all running the tools. And I'm like, what are those? And I was like, it didn't occur to me. I was like, oh, like at 20, 21 years old, and my remedial knowledge, and they just don't even touch the tools. Your little cub, you could wash the tools, you can spot screws. If you have nothing else to do, you get to spot screws. And I walked stilts, so I was a little valuable, but like we moved scaffold and just, washed tools out in the cold ass rain. It sucked.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. People that didn't want you touching the tools. You break their tool for the day, they're not going to be happy with you. That's for sure.
Well, much like you, it wasn't about that. It was more about production. Like, because I was always like, oh, I could do that. I could run that box, and you can't. It takes practice. But still, I always looked at those tools and I was like, I can do that. Probably like you saw those tools and you're like, let me run that thing. They make it look easy. Like, I can do it. And, I would jump on a form. You get a cool foreman. He'd let you, he'd teach you a little bit. And I'd be running it. And sure enough, the superintendent would walk around the corner. What the hell's going on here?
Yeah.
And so then and then I started moving around, and like when I went to Colorado, they were using banjos again. And I was like, why the hell are you guys using banjos?
And the funny thing is you would think, all these years in the industry, I still run across people that they've never seen the automatic tools. It's like they're still doing it by hand. Where, there's areas of the country where they don't have access to the stuff, or they've been doing it by hand. I don't know if they're in a cave, they've never seen the internet. But there's still people out there. I'll get a couple of them a year that they're not familiar with them, never seen them. And it's the funny part is it's their trade. They're actually out there doing the work, and they're just still, they might have heard of them before, but they never really got their hands on them.
Carpal tunnel, shoulder issues.
Well, that's,
Yeah. heavy drinking problems.
Well, there's there's a
We've
stereotype out there, and it's, it doesn't always
yeah.
apply, but sometimes it does. I mean, it's,
Nah,
you
no,
know,
I mean, you get it sometimes. You know what we talk about too? I've actually interviewed people on the podcast over the last 3 years that have gotten sober in the span that I've been on the podcast. They've gotten sober. I follow them on social media. They've cleaned up. Not everybody is a crackhead that that does drywall. That's a misconception. Um, you know, the gamut of
right.
things. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's good. Good if they get on the straight and narrow.
Well, at least, not as much. Maybe don't do as much. If I've got a tool I want fixed. I want to inquire about East Coast Drywall Tools. Is the website the best way?
The best way for my boys. I mean, for me,
Sure.
it's a phone call. I mean,
Okay.
there's a note you can send. You can send an email if you have some questions. A lot of times, if I'm troubleshooting something or you want parts or to repair something, it's best to talk with us.
Okay.
But if you know what you need, the website's fine.
Okay. And that's
if you
East
don't find,
East.
and if you don't find, not all the parts for all the tools are listed on the website yet, but
Okay.
we do typically have most things in stock. I mean, I think there's several hundred parts on an automatic taper, and when you compound that between all the brands, it's a lot of little pieces and parts and screws and things like that. So
Okay.
if
So
it's not,
maybe if they're having trouble finding a
if
tool.
they're right, yes.
Okay. All right. And
And then
that's
I have schematics and lists available to help. A lot of times, they're just kind of describing a part on the side of a machine, and it might be hard to figure out. But I do also have schematics and things like that I can help guys with to figure out what they need. And if they have an older tool, there might not even be a new. Might be hard to find an older part that might have been phased out or whatever.
Oh,
So
right. That's a
it's
good point.
not
And
everything's the same.
if they're like me, I get really attached to my tools. I know there's probably people out there with these like old broken in tools that they just love, and they maybe want to just refurbish them, and kind of give them an update. No matter what the cost, it's their baby. They've had it for 20
Right.
years. That's probably an ideal scenario for East Coast.
I have a lot of historical parts that aren't manufactured anymore. I have a junkyard of old tools where we can pull parts off of if you just
Cool.
need a couple things to get you by. Sometimes we help guys out with that as well.
Cool. What's the phone number, if you don't mind?
1-800-223-4854.
And then what's the best email?
info@eastcoastdrywall.com.
Okay. And then the website real quick, just for the listener.
eastcoastdrywall.com.
And then I have that on the advertisement as well. And of course, your pearl of wisdom. You've had a bunch today, but something you could bestow on the drywall community. What would you tell them? Besides,
Well,
don't drink so much.
well, don't drink at work for one thing. Don't do drugs at work. Separate some certain things. But really, I mean, the thing that I would encourage people to do is, be free with the knowledge that you can share with other people. I mean, sometimes
Yeah.
you don't want, a lot of times there's this thing where you don't want to teach somebody something because you think it's going to come back to bite you, or they're going to take your work. And it might happen sometimes, but mostly, I've known that if you share the knowledge, help the next guy coming up, help the young guy, help them. I've helped people learn how to rebuild tools. I've answered questions for people that became my competitors. It's okay. I mean, I've not starved to death. I've not run out of money. I've not run out of work. It's still there. Usually, if you pay it forward, it usually keeps coming back to you. So that's probably the best thing, that I can. And also expand your knowledge base. I mean, just because you're a taper today doesn't mean that can't translate into a teacher or somebody else tomorrow. I mean, there's so many different aspects, in
Love it.
just even in this one trade. And it's universal for every trade too. I mean, you can never know anything, and also be open to learn from other people as well.
Well, it's a unique, interesting knowledge base. If for whatever reason, if Fresco failed and I would probably call around and get a marketing job with one of these places. I would,
right.
You know what I mean? I would be valuable because I have a knowledge base of the tools and the trade. So don't discredit your knowledge. It's a good base, but you certainly shouldn't be limited to just that. There's other options available. Or write a book like Myron Ferguson.
Right. Well, one of the things my dad always told me was, get a trade under your belt and then you go do something else. Go do whatever you want. You always have something to fall back on. And that's, stability for you personally and for your family. I mean, that's really what is you're trying to negotiate through this life and earn a living. Stability is one of the things that you're really trying to achieve. So that's
true.
Good
True.
Place to start. It's, just basic, but
yeah, my dad he was not happy when I left the union. I just left and moved. I've been there like a year and a half, and I moved down to Bisbee, Arizona. I went from making like 18 an hour full benefits to making 8 cents a square foot in Arizona. And I was learning, and I could take that knowledge, that base knowledge, and I could go anywhere in the country with it, even at that point,
So that's,
it was valuable.
It really works out well. It's just a nice thing to have. And you can pick what you like. If you get stuck on something, you'll always have something to fall back on. I mean, learning's the fun part. Never stop learning. Don't get boxed in, And that's part of what, even with like the antiques trade that I like to do. That's the fascination for me, is I'm out looking at stuff I've never seen before. If I come across a tool or something I've never seen before at this point, I get excited about it. I mean, it's like, what is this? And I used to have a lot of old timers that I'd put a little pile together of things that I would find and wait till they would show up at my door, and I'd bring them over. Hey, what are these things? I've never seen them before. I can't find any information about them, and that's how I would learn a lot of things. So it's
that's awesome.
Never stop learning, never stop growing. I mean, that's kind of the best thing, I guess.
Derrick, Trout, East Coast Drywall Tools on the 147th episode of the Drywall Podcast, and sponsor of the Drywall Podcast in the month of September. Thank you, sir. And thanks for coming on again. Our last interview was good. This one might have been better. Just speaking plainly, this was good.
I enjoyed it. It's always good talking with you. And I learned something as well. I mean, that's, it's pretty interesting. I mean, I'm always looking as a business person, I'm looking at everybody I interact with. Wow, they do a good job at what their trade is and what they're doing. What can you take from that? And that makes it fun too.
This podcast was a stroke of luck, but just getting to connect with people the way we just connected again. I'd love to meet you in person. That would be fun sometime. Do you ever go to the shows, like the AWCI show and that sort of thing?
I occasionally I have. I used to set up at them about 25 years ago, but
okay.
A couple of years ago, I was one in Washington, down towards Washington D.C. It was not too far. I could drive. I've been wanting to make out to Vegas when they have the big show out in Vegas, because I hear that it's larger than what some of the other shows are. So, I'm planning on here in the future if I get a chance.
Okay.
I mean, COVID kind of messed things up. I was gonna go out to Vegas, and that kind of threw a monkey wrench into it for a couple of years. But I'll probably be popping into them here at some point.
Well, it'd be great to meet you in person, and if you go to one, that we should have dinner or hang out a little bit at the very least, and bring those boys.
That'd be perfect.
All right, sir.
They're gonna have to run the shop while I get away, though. That's part of the plan here.
Oh, there you go.
In charge so I can get away a little bit.
It's fine. Thank you so much for your time today. We will talk soon. I'll be in touch with Mason and Josiah. And this was great, man. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for having me.
All right. You have a good day. Bye.
Yeah, take care.
Monster shout out to Derrick Trout for being with us on the Drywall Podcast once again. Also, thank you so much for your support by sponsoring the Drywall Podcast in the month of September. We appreciate you. Hopefully, these episodes and this episode in particular brings people awareness to what you guys do over there. I think it's cool, and I'm proud to know you. Hopefully, after the information that we have just distilled from Derrick, you will know this, but East Coast Drywall has been around for over 35 years, and they've been servicing automatic tools, replacing most major parts on brands such as Drywall Master Tape Tech, Level 5, Columbia Blue Line, and Tape Pro. You'll be kept updated throughout the repair process, and you can always call if you have questions or for updates. Check out my interview with Derrick Trout, owner of East Coast Drywall Tools, all the way back on episode 53 of the Drywall Podcast, or maybe you just heard him on this episode. Regardless, you should head over to eastcoastdrywall.com for information or repair. Thank you so much for joining the Drywall Podcast today. I sincerely appreciate it. I hope you got some value out of this episode. Join us next Friday as we have Robbie Worrell, a kind of a big deal in the drywall industry. He is the head of Tape Tech, and we have an amazing near 2-hour conversation. It's very good. He's super knowledgeable. He has a lot of energy. I know you're going to like it. But until then, I hope you all have a fantastic weekend or week. And remember, keep drywalling.